cool, right? But how do we get from this shot to that shot? To answer that question, we'll have to go back in time. Whee! A couple of weeks ago, I started brainstorming a whole bunch of ideas, but it was about 5 minutes later that I ran into my first obstacle when I realized that my ideas were way too big and out of my league. It was also then that I learned my first lesson: be realistic. After scrapping all those ideas, coming up with a new one stumped me. I mean, what could I invent? That's when my mother came and inspired me with 2 words that would change the course of my life forever. Well, at least for the next couple of weeks. Spud gun. I mean, what's not to love? It shoots potatoes, so, yum, and it shoots stuff, duh, sign me up. But how could I elevate a lowly potato gun to something amazing? Simple. I would somehow have the potatoes cut while they're being launched through the air. I immediately began my research, but ran into my second obstacle. All potato guns use propane or butane. Obviously, I didn't want to poison anyone who was going to eat my beautifully cut potatoes, so I had to make my second change. Thanks to Mr. Godberg, I came up with a solution: to use pressurized air instead. And here's how it would work. I would have a PVC pipe that I would plug both sides with potatoes, creating a seal in between. I then would take a pole of sorts and insert it on this side, which would compress the air between the 2 airtight plugs. Eventually, the air pressure would become so great that the potato on this side would just be launched out. So I tested out that theory on a much smaller scale using straws to answer 3 simple questions. 1. Does the method even work? 2. Can a potato that's been launched be cut? And 3. Does the length of the barrel affect anything, and if so, how? And of course, everything went wrong. I did have some success, but I didn't get any concrete answers that I actually could use, so I basically just had to cross my fingers and hope that when I got a PVC pipe, things would work out. That was, of course, if I could even get a PVC pipe. I'm the first one to admit that I don't know anything about constructing or building, so I really just had to guess on what to get. And of course, the one pipe I decided on buying later became unavailable. Luckily, the obstacle was avoided when I was able to buy another one, because, without the pipe, the materials finally came, and dang, is 5 feet tall. Or maybe I'm just delusional about how tall I am. So here was the plan for the cutting device. I would have the PVC pipe over here, and on the end, I would have something like wires or an apple corer, or I would have the PVC pipe aiming at something like a frame, so it would be shot through and cut up. Over time, and with some experimenting, I decided that the frame was the way to go, since trying to put a movable or removable cutting device on the end of the PVC pipe was just unrealistic for me. My family isn't exactly what you would call handy, so I basically had a butter knife to build a frame and sharpen a PVC pipe, because did that PVC pipe need sharpening?
Okay, so not having sharpened edges is really tough.
So basically, this just wasn't going to happen with the tools I had at home. Fortunately, I knew a guy and was able to get both help and tools, and voila, I present to you a frame. With this frame, I took fish wire and wove it through the different drill holes and attached them to turnbuckles on opposite corners. I then tightened those turnbuckles and even added toothpicks to the side loops to get rid of slack. I did a ton of more experimenting to figure out the best ratio between plugs and projectiles. I did experiments like 1 plug, 1 projectile, or 2 here, 1 here, 2 here, 1 here, 2 there, 2 there.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh my gosh. 2 on 2 is definitely the way to go. I will show you how far that went. Oh, that was so cool. I actually know, maybe it could have gone further. So, here's where someone landed. You see someone around here? That's a barbecue. This is my slow-mo camera. Okay, we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going. And what do I see on the ground? 2 potatoes that quite possibly could have gone beyond the fence. Oh my gosh, that was so cool. I think that answers our question. 2 on 2 is definitely the way to go, because 1 on 1 never made it that far. Oh my gosh, this is so cool. And I think we might actually be able to make some fries tomorrow.
In the end, I found that 2 and 2 was the best way to go, and boy, did some of them go really far. But the question was it going to be enough? And then the moment of truth came. Basically, this was the culmination of all of my work from the past couple of weeks. All my designing, brainstorming, troubleshooting, experimenting was leading up to this one moment. I loaded up my Canon, aimed it at the frame, shot, and wow. Disappointing, am I right? I was actually really disappointed and a little disheartened because I put so much time and effort to try to get this to work, and yet it just wouldn't. That's why I learned my second lesson, to not dwell on the problem, but instead to try to find a solution, whether it be to scrap it, try something new, or to rethink what the term success meant for a project, and that's exactly what I did. I knew that the cutting part just wasn't going to work, but I did know that by launching my gun part of the project did, and so I focused on that. That was my success, and I was going to turn that into my project. That became my new vision, you can call it my new term of success. Are you lazy like me? Do you just not want to get up to move food? Or have you ever felt so unjustly matched in a food fight? Have you ever felt the painful pinch of produce, a frightfully flung fruit, a rapid rutabaga, a turbulent turnip, a quick quesadilla? Well, I am just a device for you. Meet Stan I Am, the lesser-known I Am, a food launcher-o-matic, aka Flom, and he's here to solve all of your problems. With him, you can shoot a variety of food at a variety of ranges. We have success! So what's the story? I guess it's basically how I went from knowing nothing to knowing a little bit of something in a pretty random topic. I had a ton of questions at the beginning of this process that I wanted answered, and well, not all of them did, but some actually did get answered, and I would count that as an accomplishment, especially since this was my first build. This project gave me a brand new perspective of how hard inventing actually is, a new respect for the inventors, and it really showed me how special little successes truly are. Also, mega respect going out to all those one-man show YouTubers who are somehow able to do all the filming and getting everything in frame all by themselves, because dang, is that very hard, as seen by my many bad shots.
Oh, I'm not ready for that. Shoot, I wasn't filming properly.
This project also really solidified the idea that you are going to face a lot of obstacles before you get even the tiniest bit of success. And considering the amount that I got with very little experience, I say I did quite well. All in all, I'd say this experience was really inspiring, since I was able to take an idea in my head and actually make it come to life in front of me. It was just really cool. Thanks for watching, and congratulations on getting to the end of the video. Special thanks going out to my parents for buying the 35 pounds of potatoes I used, and for Mr. Godber for basically troubleshooting my whole project.